It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. I'm glad y'all here. You know, black people, we conspiracy theorists, but we conspiracy theorists for a reason. I want you to think about just a few scenarios. One, the exonerated five. We know these folks are innocent. If you didn't know it at the time, you know it now. And yet the President of the United States, he doubles down on the fact that they're guilty. What about the Tuskegee experiment? 40 years, black people with syphilis were gone untreated and studied, and nobody was trying to do anything about that. Who all saw that? Who all was complicit in that action and did nothing? We're conspiracy theorists for a reason. The CIA is proven to have put crack cocaine into our communities, and yet that is not common knowledge. We act like it didn't even happen. There's zero restitution or trying to rectify the situation or even reparations for that. And yet you wonder why we are conspiracy theorists. McGraw-Hill publishes in a book that the transatlantic slave trade was an immigration of sorts. And we don't think that there's a reason for black people to be conspiracy theorists. And while we're talking about the transatlantic slave trade, we like to start the story of the African American at 1619 and talk about them as slaves, as if there weren't hundreds of thousands of us already here on this land, while white people were creating this concept of race so that they can make the color a stigma. Flint, Michigan, another one. Can you imagine, if you will, that Michigan, Kansas had leaded water? How long do you think it would take them to fix it? I wonder why they're not interested in fixing it in Flint, Michigan. Interesting. You know, Joshua Brown, I don't believe that man was not assassinated. Let's get this straight. He just got done testifying against the police department. You know, I made a post about it this week, in fact. And on my post, there were a couple white men who decided to kind of come for me. So if you didn't get a chance to see it, here's what it said. If I happen to die in a drug deal gone bad, I need y'all to remember that I don't sell freaking drugs. So I need you to know that I was murdered. You know, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was murdered by the federal government. You know how I know? Because they had to pay his family for their complicity in his murder. We also know that J. Edgar Hoover was part of that. And yet we have dams named after him and courthouses named after him and act like, he was just the most upstanding citizen. It's the most fascinating thing that we just want to look at the actions of the judicial system as if it is completely and utterly fair and blind. I know y'all get protected and served, some of y'all, but the rest of us, we get policed. We get abused. We get attacked. That's what happens. And I'm all for my uncle is a sheriff. I got family members who are in the police department, and I want y'all to know that not everybody, let's just say 1% of them are bad. Too many thousands for us to just let go unnoticed without doing anything about it. But when I made that post, two white men, one who considers himself progressive, grew up around black people, calls himself a Christian, wants to ask me, well, I know you don't sell drugs, but do you buy drugs? I wanted to say, bitch, do you buy drugs? The other one does a whole bunch of work in the African American community for black children. He wants a cape. He does so much work. Always on my site, always on my threads, coming for me, talking about, well, I know you don't buy them or sell them, but do you use them? I ain't even going to tell you what I wanted to say to him because it was so bad. But here's the point I want to make. Y'all missing the point. They both missed the point. But it don't matter because white men can miss the point all they want. And guess what? Ain't nobody going to correct them. I didn't correct them this week just to sit back and see who was going to correct them. Not a soul. But let that have been a black person treating me like that. Let it have been a Christian black person treating me like that. Everybody would have come for their neck. So all I'm saying is, what's happening to me as an individual, not that important. What is important are these systems of oppression. So if you are available, On at 6 o'clock on November 12th, Michelle Wimes and I are going to facilitate a discussion on the fact that justice is not blind. I'm going to share some data and then talk about what we as a community can collectively do about it to bust down these systems. My individual challenges, don't worry about it. The individual challenges of Joshua Brown, I'm not even quite sure what we can do about those either. But I do know that we can come together in our individual small communities to change the narrative around what criminal justice is looking like for Black people in our spaces. And if white men want to come along, like Attorney David Bell, please come along. But if all you want to do is wave your flag and poke holes from your privilege of white patriarchy, stay off my timeline and don't come to this event. It ain't for you. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.